So that's the message I got from my wife. What a massive surprise that was for me. I don't normally get things this sort of expensive for myself outside of a phone that I would get, but I usually get that on a plan, or something like parts for my computer or something like that, and even then pretty far and few between. So I'm really excited at the prospect of having being on the cutting edge of some kind of new technology. So I thought, what a great opportunity to make a sidebar for Angry Roads and do a video series of sort of a journey about what I'm going to do with the R1, how I intend on using it, and sort of use cases as I go along and what we can discover together. So if you're part of the R1 community already, or you're just really interested in the R1, this is the video series for you. I only know so much about the device as it is now, so I'm going to be learning along with you at the same time. So please leave in the comments down below any sort of questions you have, and let's see if we can dig into those as we go along. So to start, I thought we'd look at the dimensions, but not only the dimensions, some of the stuff that makes up the device itself. So that's the whole device as it stands, just the whole piece itself. It's sort of a square. I believe it's sort of palm-sized, and I'll find some other videos at some point that show you a bit of a reference of the size itself. But you can see touchscreen, quite a small touchscreen on the left-hand side. On the top right, we have the 360 rotating camera, 360, I think. Just underneath that is the analog wheel, which you use to scroll up and down. And I think the thought behind this is it's nice to have something tactile when you're dealing with a device like this. You can see that the wheel protrudes through to the back of the device, so that left-handed users also have a way to access the wheel without sort of compromising their preferred hand. And just below the wheel is the speaker grill. Next to the analog wheel, you have the push to talk button, as I've been calling it, but it's essentially an analog button that allows you to communicate with the Rabbit. Again, they went with something that gives a bit of a tactile feel, but also there are some other benefits which we'll get into. And so that sort of wraps up the dimensions part of it. It is USB-C, I should mention. There is a SIM card slot, which we'll talk about, but outside of that, a pretty straightforward device. So what you can see here is sort of the main attractions of the Rabbit R1. Some of the things you can expect to see soon, some of the things you can expect to see straight away. Let's talk about a few of them now, the most important ones I think, and then in some later videos I'll dig into the finer details. The large action model. That's sort of the biggest part of the Rabbit. You've heard of large language models, things like ChatGPT and Gemini. This is sort of the same thing, but using actions instead of words. So the best way to describe that is from a video that Rabbit provided me. Thank you so much for the support in that. Let's take a look at that now.
A large action model, or as we call it, LAM, is a new foundation model that understands human intentions on computers. Through it, we can teach RabbitOS how to use specific applications.
In this video, I'm teaching a Rabbit how to book an Airbnb. While I'm operating normally as a human on the left screen, watch closely on the right as the large action model is learning all my inputs and imitating my behavior in real time.
So I'm trying to plan a trip to Barcelona with my wife and my daughter. The first thing I'm going to do is navigate to the Anywhere option, and I'm going to type Barcelona in the search field. The system's suggesting Barcelona, Spain, which is exactly where we want to go. Using the website's calendar tool, I'm going to mark our check-in on the 15th and check out on the 21st. Now I'll click Add Guests and adjust the members accordingly. Now let's hit the search button and see what pops up. Since we love the beach, let's make sure to select the beachfront option. And for a more private experience, I'm going to select entire home so we have the whole place to ourselves. For the budget, I'll set a maximum at 400,000 won and a minimum of 100,000 so that all the options are within our price range. We're going to need at least 2 bedrooms to make sure we all have our own space. Finally, with all of our preferences set, we've got plenty of options that fit the bill. I'll just start browsing for the perfect one.
Each training only takes a few minutes and does not require access to an application programming interface, also known as an API, nor do you need anything installed on your device. You only need to train each workflow once.
Let's try to use RabbitOS and instead book a room in London. My extended family is going to London. It's going to be 8 of us and 4 kids. We're thinking of December 30th to January 5th. It's not set in stone yet, so I just want some general options. Can you look it up for me?
Sure, I can help you with that. The first option is a home in Portobello Mews house, priced at $1,348,351 per night with a rating of 4.8.
The large action model supports mobile apps, web apps, and professional desktop apps. It learns directly on the user interfaces and acts on them. We have already started the training process for the most popular apps. As you're watching this video, RabbitOS is learning fast and adapting to hundreds of applications. The ultimate goal of Rabbit is to define the first natural language operating system that replaces apps on your device. It's time for the machines to do some serious homework.
So like you saw there, it's a learning model that can mimic your actions on websites and certain applications. The idea behind it is to remove the need for applications and constant clicking and logging in, and gives you the freedom to interact with the Rabbit using just natural language. So the Rabbit takes what it's learned from you and applies it to the questions that you ask it. The idea being that we can step away from an app-based system and start moving towards a language-based system, the Rabbit OS. I think it's important to see all the videos that are out there for this because it's quite a difficult concept to describe. So if you check the video description below, I'll put a link to the keynote and they can explain it in a little more detail than I can. Speaking of the SIM card slot, it does take a 4G LTE SIM card. My understanding at the moment is that's simply for data, but to me, it doesn't feel like a phone replacement so much as it feels like a companion or a digital assistant. Something that's going to take the hassle out of the physical actions that you need to do to take care of digital actions that you might need. I think one of the more exciting parts about the Rabbit is the teach mode. What I've got is actually a quick video that demonstrates what the teach mode can do. Just keep in mind this is different from what you saw in the previous video, which was just showing you how the Rabbit learns from your actions. This one is teaching it something specific and new. So what you can see here is they're actually entering teach mode, which is going to give them the chance to show the Rabbit the action that he wants to take. What they're doing here is they're going to use a virtual host of Discord and go to Midjourney and create an image and show you how you would teach the Rabbit itself to do that action. Now, generally, the logins that you have here is something that you set up through what they call the rabbit hole, which is a great name for it. So yeah, basically here he's teaching the Rabbit. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there's the teach mode. It's currently recording. It's watching and trying to learn how to take this specific action. And I don't know all the details on it yet, but I think that you can then name that action and say to the Rabbit at a later stage, can you perform X, Y, and Z? So in this specific instance, I think they would say, could you go to Midjourney and create me X? And it will actually take that action and produce the results on the Rabbit handheld device itself. And so for those of you that don't know, Midjourney is just an AI art program that essentially just runs through Discord. So here he's created the image he wanted. He's now going to enlarge the image. Again, it's part of the action itself, showing just a page of the image. And he's now stopped the recording, and now he has a recent session and a queued session for learning that will help him create images in Discord. So from there, the idea is that these actions are repeatable by the Rabbit, and you can ask it to perform any of these actions at any time. And I think the exciting part about that is what that means for some people in a bunch of different industries. Think about your workday. Is there something that the Rabbit could do that might just make that easier for you if you could automate it? Again, if you watch the keynote itself, you'll see a few other examples of some really, really great tools that it can use. In one instance, he has an email conversation back and forth with the Rabbit. So he's at his work desk, he asks the Rabbit something, it emails him and he responds via email, and the workflow continues from there. At another point, he gets it to make a few different Excel spreadsheets for him using a couple different parameters. And I think that's the beauty of the Rabbit itself. The ability to potentially take some of the hassle out of your life. So that about wraps up this video. As I said, as time goes along, I'm going to dive deeper into each of these topics and any other Rabbit topics that might come up of interest. I'd love to discuss a bit more about the SIM card to understand if it is actually going to be a phone replacement or not. I'd love to talk a bit more about the physical aspect of it, the way that it looks. And I think the camera is a big part of what makes this device quite special. So I'd love to hear from you guys about some of the questions you might have about the device. Take a look at the keynote though. I think that it really answers a lot of questions and helps you see a larger picture of what it can do for you. But again, I'm quite new to this myself and I'm really looking forward to learning with you. So let's see just how deep this rabbit hole goes.